This is a position reached between international masters Andrew Brown from Canberra and Moulthun from Queensland. Andrew Brown has the white pieces. In this position, white has multiple captures. These are always complex positions in chess. What capture would you do for white if you had the white pieces here? But c takes d4 is just better anyway, so this is a good move. C takes d4, and now black's virtually forced to capture on d2, I would suggest. And you can see the engine's already saying that this is just looking really bad for white. Now white has a choice here without looking too much at the engine. The choices are going to be again captures. You can capture the bishop on d2. It's always natural to capture the stronger piece, but before that try and find a bigger threat. And you can see that the pawn capture d takes c6 actually attacks another piece. So this is actually stronger. Threatening to win two pieces is just as strong as capturing one piece, I think. So d takes c6, and you've got to remember that when d takes c6, this bishop on f3 is lining up a discovered attack on the rook on a8 as well. So I'm not surprised that d takes c6 is a good move. D takes e6 warrants some attention, but the thing why I wouldn't play a move like d takes e6 compared to d takes c6 is because if I take on e6, there's always the possibility that black will recapture with the f pawn, and that puts at least some pressure by this rook on the f3 bishop, which you wouldn't have to give black this pressure, so there's no need to do that. Let's see what white played, and I'm pretty sure he captures on c6, and this is a great move. The engine's already giving it plus 2.5, which means the game's decisive already, which is pretty bad for Moulthun because in 14 moves as an international master he's now completely lost in this game. You know, this is pretty embarrassing tactic, and you know, not the greatest way to play the game. But he's got to find a move in this position, and let's think about what we do. Well, we could save our dark squared bishop, but then the dark squared knight's going to be taken. The knight's going to be taken on d7, and after that the rook on a8 becomes attacked again. So how are we going to proceed? I really don't know what I would play in this position. I actually cannot see a good move. Even queen c7 is a problem. Even if we move the knight f6, say, despite bishop d2 being on pre, the queen on d8 can always be attacked by c6 to c7. So, you know, black is a piece up. I think in this position I'd be inclined to probably try and keep my dark squared bishop. But that's not what the computer says. The computer says knight e5 is the best move. Okay, so how does that work? Alright. So I wasn't looking at the analysis then. So knight e5 actually is a better move. And the reason why it's a better move, knight e5, is because you give back the piece with d takes e5, but in the process you protect your bishop on d2. And now, whilst you're going to lose this knight, and you'll still have a worse position, I'm sure of it. you won't actually lose material too badly. Like c7 doesn't become such a problem because of knight takes f3. Let's look what was played in the game. Queen a5. That's another way, I suppose, just protecting with the bishop, and then once the pawn takes on d7, you can round up with the rook. We'll have a look at knight e5 quickly. So knight e5, and I presume after this variation, d takes e5 is the best move. Just quickly before I play d takes e5. If c7, this is a mistake, I think. Well, the computer still likes it. I mean, that's how strong the position is. But knight f3 is certainly the reason why I would have rejected it. G take f3. And then, you know, black's got a choice. Well, your computer's just swinging around. Queen g5 just wins. This is actually a huge mistake by white, because queen g5 just wins straight away. The queen can free itself from the attack by the pawn with check, and now black's just gained. The next move after the king is they'll just retreat their bishop probably to a5 or b4, and now black's out of the danger. In fact, they're just totally winning. So knight e5, you cannot play c7, which we said, but just wanted to show everyone why you can't play it. D takes e5 seems to be the acid test here. D takes e5, and now black can just retreat the bishop, say something like c3, and after rook c1, white still has an edge, a clear edge, which they already had. They were, you know, it's not as bad as maybe it was a couple of moves earlier, but it's still pretty bad for black, because white's just winning that position. And in the game, queen a5. So let's have a look at this move. So the computer says 2.62, which is a huge advantage. An issue, of course, is that your knight on d7 is attacked, and it's not your bishop on d2 does not look like it's on a very strong piece. It's under attack. You're relying on a queen to defend it, and it's not sure. I'm not sure how's this bishop going to get out into safety. I mean, if white gets to play a3, then this bishop's going to be trapped permanently. But for the time being, let's look at the move that was played, which c takes d7, which is a sensible move, just taking a free piece. And now white has a monster pass pawn on d7, which, even though it's weak, is always an advantage. Also, now the bishop on f3 attacks the rook on a8 with tempo. So this is now a threat as well. So, I mean, this is just a really sensible game by Andrew Brown. He's just played really strong, sensible move. Rook d8 seems pretty natural, but rook a7, I mean, that's playable as well. The idea being you're going to take the rook. But I think now white's just winning and black's completely lost. I can't see how you're going to save that bishop on d2.